Welcome to SVGTV's news for Friday, September 2nd, 2022. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has predicted that St. Vincent and the Grenadines' economy will grow by 5% this year and 6% in 2023. News of this coming after the IMF mission recently concluded a visit to SVG from August 18th to the 31st. The IMF noted that SVG's vulnerability to multiple external shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic, the eruption of La Soufrière volcano, and the economic fallout of Russia's war in the Ukraine, has had a serious impact, primarily on the agriculture and tourism sectors. The report said that the post-eruption rebuilding activity continued recovery in tourism and in agriculture, and the start of several large-scale investment projects give a favorable outlook for economic growth, although subject to large downside risk. Increases in commodity prices as a result of further escalation of the war in Ukraine or supply chain disruptions, COVID-19 outbreaks, potential delays in investment projects, and the threat of natural disasters could limit the potential for economic growth. The IMF also said higher import prices, in particular those for fuel and food, are projected to push inflation to 5.7% in 2022. The IMF noted the government has rolled out temporary income support and other targeted programs to support households heavily affected by the volcanic eruptions, adding these may be accompanied by further efforts to enhance coverage and targeting of social safety nets. The IMF stressed the need for strengthening of tax administration, a continued containment of wage and current spending growth, while safeguarding critical service delivery and focusing public investment on reconstruction, resilience, building, and essential infrastructure. These measures, according to the IMF, would result in improve the primary balance of surplus about 3% of the GDP once the large-scale projects are completed in 2026. They add the public debt is projected to peak in 2024 and steadily decline thereafter to fall below 60% of GDP. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has highlighted the monumental task facing the government in rebuilding efforts for the volcano-affected victims in the red and orange zones of the island. He provided an update on the rebuilding effort at the official handing over ceremony of the newly completed houses at Orange Hill. 27 houses were constructed by a Trinidad-based non-profit organization and RAGSA for North Windward residents who were displaced as a result of the eruption last year. Prime Minister Gonsalves explains the initial assessment conducted by disaster management officials shows damaged homes amounted to close to 700. However, that number almost doubled after subsequent assessments. He said repairs are ongoing and construction of 21 houses funded by the Mustique Charitable Trust will commence soon.
They are restoring 57 level 3 and level 4. The worst set of houses which destroyed is level 3 and level 4. So when you hear level 3 and level 4, you're talking really like you're building back houses. 57 happening right now. And we are about to start 21 out of the 70 lots, which the surveyors now finish marking out. And I am negotiating. I'm talking to the chief surveyor. I was to talk again to him today, but I didn't get the time. That hopefully I'll talk to him tomorrow. In any case, before Wednesday next week for cabinet, I want to finalize the purchase of Gomery House and land up there. I want to turn the house into something else. And part of the land for Gomery We need cemetery space. And part for those persons who want to stay and live in Sandy Bay.
PM adds the total estimated cost for the Orange Hill development is approximately 1.7 million EC dollars.
So you have people getting houses here valued between 100 and little bit and mounting up to $130,000. And I ain't putting yet the infrastructure. You see the roads and the drain, which is not complete, and the electricity and the water. The estimated cost of all that is $1.7 million Eastern Caribbean. So if you divide 1.7 million by 27 houses, what you would have there would be almost $63,000 per house for the infrastructure. But because it's not a private sector development, so we, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, bear that cost and other costs.
With just a few days until the start of the new school term, Minister of Education Curtis King says that revised COVID-19 protocols are being guided by the Ministry of Health in conjunction with the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO. Speaking in an interview with the Agency for Public Information today, Minister King stressed that the pandemic is not over and measures must be put in place to protect the nation's children. He says the intention of the ministry is to maintain a safe and healthy environment for students.
Again, the revised protocols will be submitted to schools. I mean, those protocols are basically coming out of the Health Committee of NEMO and sent to Cabinet and approval given. So then they are published, and so basically we are always guided by whatever protocols are adopted by the Health Committee of NEMO and approved by Cabinet. And this year is not going to be any different.
While Minister King says the opening of schools on September 5th is set, even in light of staffing challenges, adding the ministry wants to ensure that children do not miss out on teaching time.
Parents, the guardians, the students, let us make the best of the available resources. And I like this term, to maximize the benefits of our education system, so at the end we could enhance our own living circumstances and by extension the development of the country. And we can't finish without I made this point, can the man, that look, the data, wherever you find it, will show that education is still a very powerful tool in the fight to eradicate poverty. And
thank you.
Part of getting that education is schooling.
Commenting on the recent decision by Cabinet to increase minibus and taxi fares, Minister King explains the new prices will not affect school children as the government has contractual arrangements with private minibus owners to transport students at a subsidized.
We have also, over the years, and we continue to expand it, to also provide school buses to help to ease the strain on parents and guardians having their students transported to different schools. We have provided state-owned school buses, as well as we have entered into arrangements with private owners of minibuses to work out a program with them to allow them to transport students at a subsidized rate. So the point I'm making, I mean, what we are going to engage in, and the Prime Minister always talk about it, but it is before our very eyes, but sometimes we don't see it.
The country's tourism sector is expected to expand significantly in the near future. This is according to Tourism Minister Carlos James, who notes that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is an emerging leading tourism destination. Speaking at the launch of the SVG Hotels and Tourism Association's new group medical plan, James says the commendation of daily flights from North America to SVG will result in increased airlift for the island.
The second phase of our development as a tourism destination is room stock, because we can have daily flights coming, but we have to find suitable accommodation to put guests and persons who are visiting our islands. And I want to start first by commending the bravery of a number of our local entrepreneurs and hoteliers, the operators of Paradise Beach Hotel, Sunset Shows, the Young Island Resort, Beach Comas, Hotel Alexandrina, all of the major hotels, most of them family operated, on mainland St. Vincent, who have years worked to develop the product that we have, to provide accommodation. But there comes a time when we have to move in a direction that is large scale, and we have to prepare for a major tourism boom that is coming. So that we welcome the beaches development by Sandals, the Marriott Resort which we are constructing at Private Mount Twin, the Holiday Inn Express, Royal Mill, and the recently opened La View, and a number of other hotels that are coming on mainland.
The minister also notes the boost for ecotourism with the rehabilitation of tourism sites across the country, including Fort Charlotte and Darkview Falls.
All the sites, we have signed a contract through funding from the World Bank to rehabilitate the Fort Charlotte. We'll have a restaurant there, a museum, we'll have a information center, and enhancing the product as it is. And we can also charge persons who are accessing the sites. In Darkview Fall, we're hoping to put in additional infrastructure, offering services in hospitality, putting in a spa, having training for local stakeholders in massage therapy. We're looking to develop under the Unleashing the Blue Economy project sites in Richmond, Chumuka Bay, and North Leeward to move towards an ecotourism build out of the mainland. So we're looking at adventure tourism and ecotourism.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross Society will collaborate with the Ministry of Health to host a back-to-school health fair in Kingstown this weekend as part of preparations for the start of the new school year. Operations Manager for the Red Cross, Julia Simmons, says health officials will be on hand at the fair to disseminate information on a range of health issues.
The fair tomorrow is actually between the health fair, and it was labeled it back to school and healthy, basically. It is for children, not really a general adult fair. You can't bring your child and drop the child off. You have to come with your child. When you enter what we call Public Works Yard or Ministry of Education Yard, you'll be given a health card and you can take your child to the ophthalmologist, the general doctor, get air screened. You can have various other checks that are being done by the Ministry of Health because we're partnering with them on this health fair. So you can do that, and then you have no tokens, hygienic tokens to go back to school with, preventative tokens from mosquitoes or dengue, and things like those will be given away once you've done your check.
Simmons notes the fair is mainly to ensure that students return to school healthy and resilient against diseases that are affecting SVG.
We remember the outbreak of dengue dengue virus. So we have information and resources for those. We want to make sure your kids are protected and prepared. COVID is still basically happening, so you want to make sure your children is protected and prepared. So there would be testing, that's for free. You can have vaccine if it's available, and all other resources for COVID. You would also have as well, for hygienic purposes, hand, foot, and mouth disease is also a disease that affects children at school. And then now we have monkeypox that's around the region, different spots of islands. So what the Red Cross generally do is, it's a lot of work to respond to emergencies. So it's easier on the Ministry of Health. It's easier on us as the Red Cross to respond to you if you become informed and prepared. So that these host of emergencies that we're facing, we can prevent it or ensure that you're strong enough to recover from it. That's what the health care is.
The Back to School Health Fair will be held this Saturday, September 3rd at the Public Works Yard from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. A sweet potato field training exercise for farmers in District 5 West and District 5 East in Agricultural Region 2 was conducted by Extension and Advisory Division within the Ministry of Agriculture. The objectives of the sweet potato field training exercise were to examine the integrated pest management practices to control two pests of economic importance, sweet potato weevil and white grub. The exercise also focused on the assessment of 7 sweet potato cultivators' resistance and tolerance against the sweet potato weevil and white grub. The established sweet potato evaluation plot will be used to train farmers in IPM practices such as proper field sanitization, crop rotation, selection of planting materials, as well as the treatment of planting materials used recommended insecticides. 22 farmers were involved in a training workshop focused on cultivation and supply of high-quality foods to the local market. The workshop was conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation on Industry and Labor in collaboration with the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations and the Inter-America Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. The action falls under the Resilient School Feeding Program, which is a sub-project of the Mexico Garlicmo FAO initiative. The farmers were educated on topics such as food safety and fresh fruits and vegetables. Over 70 farmers and fisherfolk across the country are expected to benefit from additional workshops.